over a race he gave away in the Pyrenees. This year, the look of dismay from the American who thought this would be his year. Last year, a battered but victorious Bernard Hinault, whose teammate Lamond waited to help him in the Pyrenees. This year, the Frenchman is already poised to win a record 6th time. The Tour de France bike race has reached the mountains of the Pyrenees. This is the time, this is the place, and these are the men who will try to tame cycling's great race in the Pyrenees Mountains. Five times a winner, Bernard Hinault has already shown he has returned with the will and the strength to win again. Hinault's teammate Greg LeMond, last year a reluctant team player, has insisted last year was a mistake. This year, he rides to help no one. The first days of this year's Tour de France, through the flatlands of northern France. Through the peaceful towns, 210 of the best in the world, the largest gathering in Tour history. And even at the beginning of this 2,500-mile odyssey, things began to happen. Since it began July 4th, those strong enough have continued relentlessly. But now, this is the time, this is the place. These are the men who have come to win the Tour de France. And a wily Frenchman and an eager American are set for a showdown while on their way to the Pyrenees Mountains. Hello everyone, I'm John Tesh. The Tour de France bike race has reached the Pyrenees Mountains. For the next 2.5 days, millions of these spectators will line these mountain roads. People who have planned their vacations, taken off work for one thing, to be a part of the Tour de France now. For it's here in the Pyrenees where the drama of the Tour has always begun. What you are about to witness is truly one of the great sports spectacles in the world. They come out here to the middle of nowhere, really, to form this gauntlet, because all these folks know the Tour always explodes along these roads. As Phil Liggett reports, now is the time.
So after 10 days of shadowboxing in this year's Tour de France, the race is now about to begin. We're here at the base of the Pyrenees. The mountains left, all of the Pyrenees, all of the Alps. And there are now two distinct types of rider in this year's Tour. There are those who will cross the mountains with the hope of surviving and simply getting to Paris. And there's the handful who really believe they can win this Tour. They must now attack and attack hard in the Pyrenees and then in the Alps. And by the time we leave the Alps, the winner of this Tour de France will surely be known.
This most majestic arena awaits the athletes about to embrace the Pyrenees. Before it's over, at least one question will be answered. Who is the strongest in the mountains? Last year, Greg LeMond and Bernard Hinault were the best of friends. That relationship ended in the Pyrenees.
Hello.
The Pyrenees Mountains in the summertime. These beautiful, tranquil peaks guard well the peaceful valleys below. The music of the water and the wind is interrupted but once a year, when like a giant magnet, the mountains attract the millions who come to watch cycling's great race.
After almost 1,200 miles, the challengers in the Tour de France are clear. Bernard Hinault, the great Frenchman who's trying to become the first man to win 6 times. And Greg LeMond, friend or foe of Hinault, and desperate to become the first American winner of the world's greatest race. And out to beat them both is Laurent Fignon, twice a winner, but out last year with injury, and now he's back to prove a point. After 12 days, the Tour de France has arrived to face the highest roads in the Pyrenees, and the mountains which form a natural barrier between France and Spain are ready to reshape the Tour. The route on this 12th stage leaves Bayonne at sea level to open with the climb of the 3,700 feet Col de Berdin-Curicetta, which is as hard to say as to climb. After 2 smaller climbs, the riders move on to the Col de Marie Blanc at 3,300 feet, not so high but steeper. Finally, the descent is made from the Pyrenees this day to Pau after a leg-breaking 135 miles on this, the first real test in this Tour. Like a piece of discarded string, the Berdin-Curicetta is a worthy adversary for the Angels of the Mountains. And on this first challenge, the climbers, led by Hinault, set a pace few will follow. Thousands, the spectators have waited all day to catch a glimpse of these talented athletes who have already shed the majority of the riders by half distance. Already 10 minutes behind, the leader for 4 days, Jürgen Pedersen, is about to lose his yellow jersey. The mountains always produce the truth. Even Fignon cannot hide, and a year off with injury is too much. He too has lost the Tour on the very first climb. The double victor struggles like never before. He'll lose over 12 minutes. The man doing all of the damage, Bernard Hinault, shadowed by Greg LeMond, is confounding his critics and setting a pace that is hurting everybody. The Badger is enjoying freedom. At the top of the Berdin-Curicetta, Hinault concedes to Robert Miller, but the first mountain of this Tour has made its selection, and Hinault is still the name.
Behind the leaders are the stories of riders who struggle not to win, but only to finish. Up to this point, 30 of the 210 original starters had dropped from the Tour, and 2 Americans would be next. Today, 2 boys from the States not only battled the mountain, but a stomach virus that left them both weak. Doug Shapiro, on the right, finished his first Tour de France last year. But now, the 27-year-old who grew up in New York was struggling in vain. Enduring the same hardship, Shapiro's teammate and friend Chris Carmichael, whose first Tour de France will end here 1,500 miles from the finish line in Paris. It's been a brave new adventure for Team 711's first Tour, carried on now by Olympic speed skating champion Eric Heiden. And also by the American who made Tour history on its 3rd day, winning a road race. Davis Finney, here recovering from a crash, fights back with the help of an unknown ally from within the crowd.
But at the front of the race, how things have changed, and Bernard Hinault has stunned everyone by attacking and going ahead with Pedro Delgado, one of Spain's greatest climbers and a marvellous ally now. Hinault has left the great climbers gasping, Miller, Claude Croquillon and Greg LeMond. Even Luis Herrera, the Colombian, who'd waited for these climbs to prove himself. How did LeMond feel now? Hoping to set the pace, again the American is forced to follow in defence of Hinault. This great Frenchman never gives up. And off the mountain he speeds towards Pau, thinking of gaining as much time as possible on a day when the climbers should have contained him. No one expected such a bold attack here. LeMond knows now that his friend at the dinner table is a rival on the road. But even with Hinault gaining many minutes in front, LeMond contains his natural feeling to attack and plays the perfect teammate on this climb. He just keeps an eye on them and refuses to assist in the chase. French-Spanish tandem have made an alliance. Hinault has told Delgado that he prefers to make the pace, and for Delgado to keep out of his way. This is a man trying to win the Tour, and Le Mans doesn't enter in his thoughts. The American wants advice. No one could have expected Hinault would take a 5 minutes lead. These time gaps went out 20 years ago, when the Tour was won by hours, not minutes. Taking on water, Le Mans has been pushed away from contender to that of a helper.
Fully 2 minutes ahead. 2 men, one from Spain, one from France, joined by one common goal. Delgado and Hinault are stealing the day's race, and Hinault moves closer to the yellow jersey every second.
Give me a
The eternal snows of the Pyrenees. These are the peaks that have for decades tested the true champions in the Tour de France. Bernard Hinault nursed along in his bout with an eye infection, which has done nothing today to slow his murderous attack. Greg LeMond, when his teammate Hinault left the pack, he left us all with a question. Has Greg LeMond's unwillingness to take risks today made him just another member of the pack? And what of Fignon? The two-time champion suffering on the climbs has virtually taken him out of the day's race. It's as if Hinault had grown tired of wearing his team jersey and was focused today on yellow. His lust for the jersey ultimately launched him out of the pack. Why did LeMond not follow Hinault's early move? Did he really think the Frenchman had taken a bad risk? And would Greg's decision here end any chance he had of becoming the first American to lead the Tour de France? At the summit of the highest climb, and the crowd barely notices Delgado, for his partner today is Bernard Hinault, who races to the chants of his name. Delgado offers Hinault a drink. It's the only bit of help he has refused all day. The partnership has been a profitable one for both men, and with the Frenchman's overall time standing, if they continue their 4-minute advantage, Hinault will be in yellow.
Since 1903, the Tour de France has shaped people's lives. Pedro Delgado poses no threat to Hinault. He's already 8 minutes behind him on overall time. Riding like the wind, Hinault is producing an attack never seen since the halcyon days of Eddy Merckx, the legendary Belgian who made a habit of achieving the impossible. Le Mans checks the route. The favourite going into the Tour is now way behind, but Hinault rides on the same team. Who is the real leader? Remember the scene last year when manager Copley stopped Le Mans from attacking because Hinault was behind? What's Copley saying now with the roles reversed? The hardest enemy to fight is the one who never does the predictable. And Hinault was attacked on the first day in the Pyrenees when the hardest days lie ahead. He knew no one would want to race this soon. The only loser today could be Le Mans. This year, Le Mans has a new teammate. He speaks the same language. American Andy Hampsten is a useful confidant. In the crowded streets of Pau, Hinault plays to his people. How could you expect this man to even think of giving the race to an American on foreign soil? 2 miles behind, Le Mans, sick inside from what seems like a double cross, is paced by Hampsten and followed by Zimmermann, the Swiss champion. On this extraordinary day, Hinault is literally miles ahead, pulled by the magnet of success. And as Miller and Herrera struggle on the final small climb, they must wonder what is left for them in this race now. But Le Mans can wait no longer, and with the show of aggression that the French say he doesn't have, the American, driven by anger, fights back.
At the finish, and watch Hinault in second place, who makes it obvious that he's giving Delgado the win. A personal thank you for the man who has helped Hinault into the yellow jersey. Delgado's breakaway now seen as brilliant, and Hinault's decision to join him even more so. Bernard Hinault had rolled the dice, and the risk had paid off. The decision not to join him was a costly one for the American. Greg LeMond, riding with Colombian Luis Herrera, waited too long to lift his tempo. And through the streets of Pau, LeMond's dreams of a Tour victory continue to evaporate. This is a man very familiar, very comfortable with the yellow jersey. Hinault has said he will retire after this year's race. His charge now is to hang on to the jersey through the rest of the Pyrenees and then the Alps. And still on the course, Le Mans leads Herrera to the finish, 4.5 minutes behind Hinault. The Frenchman is not only in the yellow jersey, he's 5.5 minutes better than Le Mans overall. The La Viclaire rider, who told the press that this year he would sacrifice himself for his American teammate, has shown Le Mans and the world that when it comes to the Tour de France, winning is everything.
Think you still have your own chance?
Not sure.
Who knows?
The standings with 1,400 miles remaining, Laurent Fignon is out of contention. Le Mans may be just as bad off, 5:25 back, and with some regrets.
You know, if I want to be frank, I probably should have never come on La Viclaire because I feel I'm too close to Bernard Hinault, too close to his strength, that I end up always having to take the second position, and it's my fault. You know, I mean, I probably should have stuck with the System U or some other team. That's all I can say.
Is the Tour over, do you think?
No, I don't think so, because, you know, I have to say honestly that I'm going to take my own chance someday when I feel really good.
Frenchman Laurent Fignon, a third win is certainly out of the question now. The race and the country today belongs to another Frenchman. Would Greg LeMond be better off if he never stopped walking? Time will tell, and the decision will come here.
And in just a few moments, we'll return to John Tesh with...
The subject on live TV and radio shows is the yellow jersey. The tough, handsome Breton, Hinault, leads this race that has brought him the world's attention. One day after he was embarrassed by his teammate Hinault in the previous race, Greg LeMond prepares this morning for yet another 6 hours of racing. And what has happened to the invasion from the boys of System U? Well, the answer came live on French TV when System U's leader, Laurent Fignon, was found not in cycling gear, but huddled beneath hotel room sheets. Fignon, 12 minutes behind overall and diagnosed with a fever, has dropped out. The La Viclaire team, more powerful than ever, with Bernard Hinault first overall, Greg LeMond second. Two men with the ability to win, an interesting situation for the team's coach.
It's going now be a hard race for 10 days until Paris, and I'm glad to have two guys in front. I don't know who will be the winner in Paris, but one of them I'm sure will be the winner.
I told Greg last night, I think you're strong. You know you're strong when everyone else is hurt, and I think you better go for it, because when you have the chance, don't wait, you know? If you want to win the Tour, don't wait for it, go for it.
I think Greg let Hinault take the initiative in the team.
Was that a mistake?
Well, if he wants to win, he's going to have to pull back 4.5 minutes now. It's going to be difficult.
Do you think the possibility of a Tour win is gone now for Greg LeMond?
Not at all.
Why so?
Because I think he's the strongest rider in the race.
A lot of early morning talk as this war of attrition makes ready to leave the city of Po, where among other historic happenings, Béarnaise sauce was invented. Of the 2,525 miles of the Tour de France, today's 116-mile climb through the Pyrenees will be one of the toughest. It begins gently, no climbing for the first 45 miles, but then the trip up the Col de Tourmalet, a name which originally meant bad detour. The road could only be accessed by foot until the 17th century. Over the top, straight down, and then the concern is gravity. Back upstairs and the Col de Aspin. Back down again on the tortuous seesaw, and then up the Col de Peyresourde, about 5 miles from the Spanish border. That's 106 miles gone. But finally, one more of the Tour's highest category climbs to the ski station of Super-Bagnères. So the ride out of Po, the largest city of the Pyrenees area, which first hosted the Tour de France back in 1930. Things got started, LeMond had another one of his now famous chats with the team car. Is that the confident smile of a rider who is 5.5 minutes behind? What's on his mind? In a normal situation, Le Mans would be called upon to protect his teammate's yellow jersey. For Hinault, for the team. Somehow it makes you feel like we've all been here before.
A castle stands sentinel in the Pyrenees, hiding the secrets of the past. But what of the future? The day opens with a surprise. There's always the adventurers, and Dominique Arnaud, after only a mile, goes off on a lonely ride. A local man, 42 minutes behind. He has his chance. Above all, he's now the carrot for the chase. On the giant Col de Tourmalet, the riders ascend for 12 miles, and soon the climbers are back in their element. Arnaud has gained over 8 minutes, but with being 42 down, he's no threat. Hinault is now in yellow as again the climbers set the tempo. And Le Mans is in no doubt. He wants to win the Tour, but he has to think of a way to recover 5.5 minutes from his friend and rival. All of France, it seems, awaits the answer. A year ago, Arnaud was a teammate of Hinault and Le Mans, but now he's in a Spanish team and near to Spain's borders. He has the distinction of being the first man across the highest road in the Pyrenees. The newspapers, by the way, are not to read. They go up under the jersey to keep the chest warm on the way down. With a face that shows the pain, Hinault has not succumbed to the climbers, but instead unnerves them all by riding in the front. Still 5 minutes ahead, Arnaud goes down. Further behind, Le Mans goes up, and with the summit ahead, it's not just the sun reflecting off his back, it's also the yellow jersey of Bernard Hinault.
So this pack of team leaders heads up the Tourmalet, with one team soon to face some important decisions. The summit in the 113-mile race's second climb, and a Frenchman is in charge of his race. The Badger, Bernard Hinault, has once again whipped his fans into a roaring frenzy. Here in this race that destroys mere mortals, Hinault is displaying his superhuman strength.
Is Hinault man or machine? Because no one expected this. 2 attacks in 2 days. Certainly not Le Mans, who was seeing his race dissolve before his eyes. Le Mans now clings to the hope that a Colombian can pull him back into the race. Still ahead are 2 major mountain passes. Is Hinault really a Superman or a fool? In just 8 hours, this marvellously aggressive athlete has done more damage than in the previous 10 days. But at what cost to his own body? The Tour makes men, but it can also destroy them. Yet Hinault's won 5 times before. He knows the tricks the mountains can play. So is it strategy or vanity that makes the Tour leader, with a 5-minute advantage, go out for more? Over 2 minutes behind, the chasers regroup. Even they cannot work out what is in the mind of the Badger. Robert Miller and Greg LeMond keep tempo side by side, each knowing that sooner or later, one of them must attack and go after the man who doesn't know how to be second best. Miles to go, Hinault takes food. There's still the terrible climb to the finish, but everybody, friend or foe, can only admire this demonstration by a rider who has learned to endure pain as well as the glory. Win or lose, he alone is responsible for tearing the Tour de France apart. After more than 4 hours in the lead now, Dominique Arnaud will succumb shortly to the inevitable. indicate the approach of the Badger, who will soon be back in his rightful place. Pace behind being set by the Colombians, Le Monde does not look like a rider suffering from altitude. With alert eyes, is he still suffering from indecision, hoping that Hinault's own attack will be his downfall? Further up the climb, Hinault is set to pounce, and after leading for over 4 hours, Arnaud will soon slip back from the lead and into anonymity. Without a glance, Hinault continues on his way. The pursuit behind is at 60 miles an hour. Showing the strain of one of the greatest attacks the Tour has seen in maybe 10 years, Bernard Hinault is elevating himself into one of the greatest riders. The man everyone thought would work for Greg LeMond is alone and working for himself.
The ski station at Super Bagnères, the finish line for those who will make it on bicycles and those who will not. The last official vehicle in each day's race in the Tour is a van with a broom attached to the top. The broom wagon, its safe passage to the finish line for those who cannot continue. Every day, struggling riders try to escape the broom wagon, and their fans put together this bizarre relay to deny the ghoul on 4 wheels its wounded prey. Sometimes, even 1,000 friendly pushes up the mountain cannot prevent the fatigue, the heat exhaustion from taking their toll. How can you possibly climb in the mountains for more than 6 hours, knowing that even if you finish, you're still 1,300 miles from Paris? Brave Bernard Hinault has begun to feel the effects of the heat and the long climbs. The pace that earlier had decimated his rivals is slower now. Behind him, a chase group has formed, including Greg LeMond. Hinault's time advantage is quickly evaporating. They ride eagerly in search of the yellow jersey, and the man who had seemed unstoppable is for Greg LeMond and his group, at least now, reachable. A weary Frenchman in yellow, an anxious American teammate beside him. They will speak Hinault's language. Is it a question or a command? 2 men know the answer along the hellish mountain roads of the Pyrenees. The final climb to the ski station at Super Bagnères. 10 miles to go, but it's straight up. Greg LeMond and his group, including Colombian Luis Herrera and Swiss champion Urs Zimmermann in red, have passed Bernard Hinault, but not left him. Zimmermann's overall standing makes him dangerous, and if LeMond waits for Hinault, the team could be without the yellow jersey. It's clear that Hinault has encouraged the American to leave him and continue the race with the others. Hinault's pace has grown dangerously slower, and he has been passed by yet another group, including another of his teammates, American Andy Hampsten. It's now LeMond with the responsibility of controlling the race off the front. Andy Hampsten, number 5, tries to stay with England's Robert Miller. Zimmerman, Miller is a threat to Leclerc's yellow jersey, and if Hampsten can't slow him down, he must at least stay with him. Like a quarterback with no one to hear his signals, Hinault can only fight his fatigue and wonder how far he is behind all the action. Hampsten and Miller join Le Mans' group at the front, and now watch for Hampsten on the left. All at once, another American is in charge of this race. It's Hampsten, who with his victory in the Tour of Switzerland showed he is indeed a powerful force, and on the climb to Super Bagnères could win. A bit of indecision in Le Mans' group, and Herrera begins to falter. The attention must now be focused on Hampsten, who continues a pace that could not only win him the race, but the yellow jersey. Finally, Le Mans makes a move. Looks back for challengers, and there is none. Le Mans goes off in search of Hampsten. Hinault uses teammate Nicky Ruderman to pace him up the climb, but he is a full 5 minutes behind. Le Mans has caught and passed Hampsten and is alone at the front, and he now has a chance at the yellow jersey. Struggles to hang on. Nearing the summit, and a man whose last name in French means the world has a whole country on his side. Greg LeMond, he has won his first road race in the Tour de France. The first time an American has won a mountain road race. But the clock is still ticking. Coming into this test in the mountains, Le Mans was 5.5 minutes behind overall leader Hinault. What happens behind him determines whether or not he will wear yellow. And so still on the mountain, Bernard Hinault fights to keep his jersey. Back up top, Le Mans has refused interviews and is only concerned with what's happening with Hinault. Le Mans on the podium for today's win, and it's one he certainly earned. Hinault would go on to finish 4.5 minutes behind Greg, but he had saved his yellow treasure. Greg LeMond had come within 40 seconds of winning the jersey.
I'm confident that I can do it. The Tour de France is a race unlike any other race, and you're being attacked every day, and I just hope I never have a bad day in the Alps. That's something that can happen.
The standings after 13 days, 2 Americans in the top 6. That's never happened before. And Le Mans is 40 seconds away from making more history. All bets are off as to the winner in Paris. The daily ritual of administering the yellow jersey, enjoyed by Hinault. How long will this last? We'll be back with today's dramatic battle in the Alps a bit later on in our program.
Welcome.
Bike race. And earlier today, the 152 remaining riders left the town of Gap on their way to the ski resort at Serre Chevalier, their first full day in the Alps. And right away, it was American Greg LeMond who attacked the mountains, and his group of climbers began to run away with the race. It was 1 year ago when LeMond was given a raw deal when his team asked him to back off his pace and help his teammate Bernard Hinault win his 5th Tour. Well, today, Hinault in the yellow race leader's jersey was being taken apart by LeMond. At the start of this stage, Hinault was only 40 seconds ahead of LeMond in the overall standings. And now, Greg was far enough ahead of Hinault to put him technically in the yellow jersey. A look back for Hinault, a real look, and Hinault was nowhere to be found. Could this really be happening? though it appeared to finally sink in as Lamont realized he should be paying more attention to his race. The Swiss champion Urs Zimmermann leads Greg, and suddenly he is the American's chief worry. This now is the angry Greg LeMond, the man who was promised by Team 80 that he would have the Frenchman's help this year. What was being said at the team car? Maybe it's what we heard early this morning before the race.
It's been really difficult for me because, you know, we have two leaders on the team. Both of us want to win. I always felt that, you know, a promise has been made that I helped Bernard win last year, and I felt that it was his turn to help me win this year, and it's been the contrary. It's been the battle against each other.
We're meant to be working together, not against each other. But he just told me the war is now on. That's official.
I think we'll see Lamont in the yellow jersey tonight.
An outrageous prediction? Well, maybe. In any case, the Alps were soon to tell the tale.
At last and for the first time in his sparkling career, Greg LeMond is free to ride his own race. Accompanied by the Swiss champion Urs Zimmermann, LeMond attacked on the Col d'Izoard, knowing that Bernard Hinault had already been left behind by the best on the way up the mountain. Finally, everything Greg LeMond has promised is coming true. The American who made Europe smile when he said he could win the Tour de France now has the last lap. The Badger still fights to limit his losses. The Tour has still 600 miles to go after today. Hinault knew, though, someday the rider he trained, coached and encouraged would one day become a man who could inherit all the glories that the Tour de France creates. Towers above Briançon and climbs 7 miles to nowhere. But Greg LeMond will soon remember this lump of granite as the place where he became the first American to lead the Tour de France. The crowd knows history is again in the making. Hinault is beaten today, but he has helped make LeMond the champion he always knew he was. Even in defeat, Hinault has every reason to feel proud this day, as all America should. Greg LeMond has only to cross the finish to become the first American to lead the race in a history that goes back 83 years.
At the summit, LeMond was the third man to reach the ski station at Serre Chevalier. But of course it didn't matter. His finish was better than 3 minutes faster than Hinault. The climbing had taken its toll on Greg, but it was worth it. For now, he could wear a jersey bright yellow in color and become the first American to do so. And already LeMond was being overwhelmed by the press. Bernard Hinault, his yellow jersey would soon be gone. And now the historic moment. Greg LeMond in yellow. The blonde-haired, blue-eyed bike rider from Nevada was now leading the greatest bike race on earth. The standings after 17 days, LeMond in the lead. The man in the middle, Urs Zimmermann. Afterwards, LeMond put the personal battle with Hinault behind him and put the focus on the finish line in Paris.
I think that Bernard realizes maybe that he can't win it now, and I think that Bernard's the type, I mean, normally he'd really keep his word, but, you know, he's been under a lot of pressure, and I think now that I've got a clear advantage over him, I think he really will support me 100%.
Back here at our base of operations this Sunday evening, the French Alps, where we feed you our program via satellite. The riders have long since retired for the evening, Greg LeMond with his historic yellow jersey tucked away in his hotel room drawer. But the race is not over for Greg LeMond or the other riders, because upcoming this week, two of the most torturous stages so far, 2 more days through the French Alps. The week ends up with a glittering ride down the Champs-Élysées for the man who can win the 1986 Tour de France. Will Greg LeMond be able able to hang on to his first yellow jersey? Will Bernard Hinault be able to take it away from him and win his historic 6th? We'll have it all for you next Sunday on CBS Sports Sunday. For now, I'm John Tesh. So long from the French Alps.
Well, John Tesh and Phil Liggett.
Betrayed and enraged, American Greg LeMond protects his lead in a race against all odds. His wife, his family, caught up in a firestorm called the Tour de France. LeMond's teammate, once his friend, Bernard Hinault, is now the American's worst nightmare. The man who owns them both, with his hand firmly on the throttle of a team ready to explode. An angry young man from America has grabbed hold of a race that will not let him go. This is a race that has for 83 years brought the world's very best to meet the test of the Tour de France. Dressed in yellow for the first time in history, an American carries cycling's prized possession on his back. Greg LeMond has arrived and is beating the Europeans at their game. But riding in his way is a man who had pledged to help him win his first Tour. Five-time winner Bernard Hinault has let it be known he is off in search of a record 6th victory. Since it all began July 4th, their journey has taken them all over France's most beautiful countryside. 2,525 miles for 24 days. .210 riders, the largest field in history, and always at the front, the two men who have shaped the race with their own private battle. Bernard Hinault and Greg LeMond have taken aim at one another in this high-speed war on bicycles. It's the Frenchman and the American who have turned this race to catch them into a tangled mess of bodies and bikes. Today, they crown the champion of the Tour de France. Hello, everyone. I'm John Tesh, along with Phil Liggett, and welcome to the Tour de France bike race. In a little while, this great race will make its finish right here along Europe's most glamorous avenue, the Champs-Élysées. And Phil, it began 23 days ago, and through it all, it really has been a battle between the Frenchman and the American, Hinault and LeMond.
John, it most certainly has. If you can remember, over 3 weeks ago, 210 riders, a record field, set out. Today, almost 40% of those riders have given up. But all the time, the two principal players have been Greg LeMond and Bernard Hinault. And if you can cast your mind back a year ago, that was where the rivalry and the battle really began, in the mountains of France 12 months back. And this has been one of the greatest Tour de France's because of two of the world's greatest cyclists.
And one of them lives in Quessoy, France, in the heart of Brittany. Home for Bernard Hinault and his family. That is when Papa isn't off winning the world's most prestigious bike race.
Just like that.
Kortrijk, Belgium. Home for American Greg LeMond and his family, who have moved from Nevada so LeMond can train and race in Europe with the best. These are two men as different as red and white. Hinault relaxes in his wine cellar, firmly ensconced in the land of his ancestors. LeMond makes his life as an expatriate American, longing to return his family to the shores of America. but committed to a European sport that insists he raise his family here in Europe. The face of the Badger. It was a name given to Eno years ago for his tenacity. Beware, American. The Badger is quiet only at home.
The two family men soon faced their reality when the tour set off from the Paris suburbs on July the 4th. A record entry of 210 riders made their way due north towards the coastline of Calais and the nearest point to England. And even on these opening flat stages, Eno was never content to watch. He always felt the urge to attack. There were two reasons. The route was heading towards his home in Brittany, and he wanted to tire the specialist climbers over the roads they hated the most. Greg LeMond knew he had to stay close to his friend, or was it a rival, right from the start? And at this early stage, LeMond wasn't sure of Eno's intention. The opening week of the 2,500 miles race followed the northern coastline through Normandy, where Americans have come before on less happy occasion. Then the route plunged south through the vineyards. Unable to conceal it any longer, Eno was receiving treatment for an eye infection caused by the dust of the countryside. Would it hinder his performance? His rivals would soon know. LeMond was also ill with diarrhea, and he'd need to be in top condition if he was to conquer the mountains that were coming closer with every pedal turn. And as the race went on through the vineyards and Bayonne, the Pyrenees were in sight. The race was about to begin. And Eno, in company with Spain's Pedro Delgado, entered the Pyrenees with the intention of breaking everyone's spirit. On the road to Pau, he led by 3 miles. On this first day in the mountains, LeMond was already confused like everyone else, but he didn't know what Eno was planning. In Pau, Eno was the leader by a massive 5.5 minutes. Was the race already over? LeMond's face distraught. This attack by Eno had not been expected. Was Eno a teammate or a rival? But the very next day, LeMond took back 4 of the 5 minutes. The impossible achieved. After the Pyrenees, the race moved on towards the Alps and the next battleground between two men who both wanted to win the race. Both appeared equal. But on the very first day, exactly a week ago, Greg LeMond vented his fury on a man who has forced him to prove he is the best. LeMond was drawn by the thought of a yellow jersey. And suffering visibly, the Badger was being forced back into his corner. At last, history was made. After 83 years of the Tour de France, an American is dressed in yellow. And LeMond had recovered 8 minutes in less than a week from Eno to do it.
And so it was last Sunday that Greg LeMond stood in the yellow jersey. But still, one more week of racing remaining through the Alps and a crucial time trial. We'll be back with more of our coverage of the Tour de France in a moment.
CBS Sports Sunday.
Bernard Hinault in the sunglasses, Greg LeMond behind him, and on the left, the boss. His name is Bernard Tapie, and he is the man responsible for the La Vie Claire Dream Team of cycling, which, by the way, cost $3 million to run this year. La Vie Claire, the clean life, the name given Tapie's chain of health food stores. In a society where white bread, wine, and sauces extraordinaire dominate the dinner table, Tapie's investment in the health food enterprise was a bold one. But then so were the investments in the other 44 companies he owns. So why not write a book about it all? Winning. And why not star in your own TV commercials? Tapie, vanquishing all those who would challenge. And a symbol, really, of the new France.
Mais qu'est-ce qui vous fait marcher?
Moi? Je marche à la Vendée. Alcaline Vendée, plus 40% de durée.
It's not only batteries that keep the 41-year-old Tapie marching to the music of profit and gain. Tapie is France's true success story. And he quite often is in the news, on the news, at night. This is the Lee Iacocca of France, if you will. And the guy is everywhere. Just look out your window. especially during the Tour de France. When Tapi shows up, you can forget Hinault and Le Mans. These folks want a piece of the guy who's bought them both. It was Tapi who brought Le Mans and Hinault together. What a perfect match, the talented young American and the legendary Frenchman. Last year, Tapi's Franco-American cycling tandem had the press in a photo-opportunistic frenzy. Smiles all around, most of the time anyway. Here at the Tour, France's Lee Iacocca becomes cycling's George Steinbrenner, master of the bike racing universe. Planning, scrutinizing, orchestrating. Nothing escapes Tapi's glance. And no one misses a chance to watch the man who has done much to shape the modern-day Tour de France with his partner par excellence, Bernard Hinault. Involved? Yes, the boss gets involved. And in the cycling world, that means sticking your head out of a moving vehicle to shout at your coach. It's the powerful Tapi who prides himself on putting together this French team led by Bernard Hinault. For in the minds of the French, Hinault will always be number one, no matter who rides on his team. And where has that left Greg LeMond?
If I want to be frank, I probably should have never come on La Vie Claire because I feel I'm too close to Bernard Hinault, too close to his strength, that I end up always having to take the second position, and it's my fault.
Well, during the Tour, Tapi was asked on the news if it wouldn't be better for LeMond to win the Tour so Tapi could get added business exposure in the States.
Hinault est beaucoup plus connu que Greg LeMond aux États-Unis. Par conséquent, ça serait mieux pour nous sur le marché américain si c'était Hinault qui gagnait.
It would be better for our American market if Hinault wins. Well, the time for arguments is over. Here in the Alps, there will soon be enough more important questions answered in the Tour de France. It's day 18 and time for the race to Alpe d'Huez. Bernard Tapi is on hand. It's clear that if Bernard Hinault is going to make his move on Le Mans, it will have to come here. Hinault has two choices: attack Greg LeMond or help him keep his yellow jersey. The American has spent his first full night in the yellow jersey, and he would like some team support.
I'm hoping that I'll have some support from him and in the coming days, because I feel like in the mountaintop finishes I'm riding stronger than he is, and I think I should maybe take another minute out of him today. I'm thinking that.
Actually, the man in second place to Le Mans in the overall standings is Switzerland's Urs Zimmermann. Zimmermann is 2.5 minutes behind Greg, and Hinault is another 20 seconds back. Another of the top riders is Spain's Pedro Delgado, but the pace of the favorites has put him fully 8 minutes behind. Check-in time for this crucial trip into the Alps, and for the first time ever, the man to beat is an American.
After the opening day in the Alps, LeMond has the yellow jersey. But it's now Urs Zimmermann who is second and Hinault back in third. Day 2 in the Alps is the most unkind of all, with 3 of the highest passes. The Col de Galibier at 8,600 feet, the highest road in France. Then the road snakes its way up the Col de la Croix de Fer, another brute at 6,800 feet. And after only a brief rest before the final twisting agony of Alpe d'Huez, a mere 5,800 feet. But on the glaciers here, you can ski all summer. Packed together, the field head off into the belly of the Alps, not knowing what the day will bring. For LeMond, it will be his first test in yellow, and now his attention swings to the Swiss champion Zimmermann, just over 2 minutes back in second place. Zimmermann is now the biggest threat to the yellow jersey, but not far behind lurks the Badger. Is he thinking while he rides he can profit from the attention paid the other two? If they watch each other, perhaps Hinault will be able to slip away unnoticed. The mountains will hold the answers to these questions, and the spectators wait for the secrets to unfold. As the air gets thinner and the roads go higher, Hinault is still a force, and with typical panache, he teases LeMond to take the lead. The mountains are a great leveller, but Hinault signaled to LeMond that he won't be content to ride in this pack much longer. Bernard Hinault is like a time bomb ticking. The man who has won this race 5 times. The only question now is when is he set to go off?
Well, yeah.
Zimmerman is a rocket on the high-speed descent in the Alps. Coming into the race, Zimmerman was 2:24 behind Le Mans and displays his unusual technique for playing catch-up. The climbers have now become daredevils, and the pace of the race has been dictated by how much risk one is willing to take. Strung out over miles, the pack of 143 takes on the look of a giant pinball machine run wild. Here, only rock walls and perilous cliffs, barely negotiable at 60 miles an hour. Off the front of it all, Bernard Hinault. Zimmerman in front of him, and manning the lead position, the yellow jersey, Greg LeMond, whose lust for greater speed has ensured him his position as the race leader. But at the bottom of the hill, the group collects itself, and the race begins all over again.
And while Greg LeMond rides close to Urs Zimmerman, the bomb explodes and Bernard Hinault launches into the attack. Peddling a gear that many riders would use going only downhill, the Frenchman shows his real strength. It's left to Zimmerman to chase, but will LeMond help? And with the rhythm of a metronome, Hinault pushes home an attack he's clearly planned all day. Plays the perfect teammate and rides behind Zimmerman. But what's he thinking? Surely he remembers the road to Po a week ago when Hinault won the day by over 5 minutes. That margin now will cost Le Mans the Tour. Zimmerman is now sandwiched between 2 teammates. The Swiss rider is in isolation and tiring. While Hinault speeds ahead, Le Mans takes advice from his team car. And despite Hinault's attack, Le Mans seems strangely tranquil. Hinault, free again from the field, rides like the wind. His immediate ambition now is to gain time, and lots of it. And with the ski station of Alpe d'Huez on the snow line, who says he won't? Zimmerman is now too tired, and Hinault's gained enough time to take second place. His next target will be the yellow jersey of Greg LeMond. And do you think Greg doesn't know that? Taking food on the move, the break is made, and Hinault settles into his rhythm. But a glance over his shoulder, and Greg LeMond is no longer with Zimmerman, but stimulated by the most coveted symbol in France. He joins Hinault on the attack, helped by his Canadian friend, Steve Bauer. On the hardest day in the Tour de France, 3 members of the La Vie Claire team have formed at the front, and both Hinault and LeMond are again playing the leading roles in one of the finest races for years. The route continues to wind its way over the Alpine peaks. This is a day for the strongest. And on the slopes of the Col de la Croix de Fer, the rocks blossom with people witnessing one of the finest battles between the world's 2 greatest riders. Swept aside by a private feud, Zimmerman knows dreams of being the first Swiss winner in 35 years are gone. While Bernard Hinault and Greg LeMond have proved beyond all doubt that they have no equals in this race. But the question now, neither of them yet know the answer to, is which one will be first to Paris. The climb of Alpe d'Huez is still to come, and it may yet hold the answer. With a 4-minute gap already open today, these 2 men no longer have any other competition except each other.
Greg LeMond and Bernard Hinault, one unable to beat the other on the climb to Alpe d'Huez. They now choose to ride as one. Alone together in an arena that all at once engulfs them while not obscuring their superhuman strength. The roaring gauntlet greets these men, each of whom wants to win the Tour de France. But neither can do it alone. It was 1 year ago when Le Mans helped Hinault win his 5th Tour. And later, Le Mans, who burst into tears after realizing his unselfish act, cost him a chance at winning the Tour de France. And it was a bruised and broken Bernard Hinault who, after having his yellow jersey saved by the American, pledged to help him, to be his willing team ally in this year's race. Today, here in the Alps, alone together, Hinault and Le Mans had a yellow jersey between them, but this time, it was Greg's. And maybe it was gratitude, maybe a newfound friendship that carried the two across the mountaintop finish line, arms raised after obliterating the rest of the competition. Hinault received the official stage win, but it didn't matter because Le Mans retained the yellow leader's jersey. No one knew quite what to make of what had happened on the way to Alpe d'Huez. But one thing was certain. Bernard Hinault was now the one and only challenge to the yellow jersey. The standings after 18 days looked like this. Hinault 245 back. Le Mans' teammate behind him, reason enough for Greg to be pleased before the next race. That was not the case.
I worry about it. I tell you, I'm very paranoid. And, I tell you, I've had sleepless nights the last couple of nights. I'm praying that everything goes well. It's sad that here I'm winning my first Tour de France, and if I was any other rider, not an American, it wouldn't even be a question I'd win. But there's still a question.
Le Mans' paranoia not unfounded. The morning headlines. Hinault declares the Tour is not over. The American presence along the roads at this year's Tour de France has been considerable. And for many reasons, there has been cause to celebrate the red, white, and blue. The first American to wear the yellow jersey, Greg LeMond, has lit up the sports pages back home. But LeMond's fame has come while riding on Bernard Hinault's French team. Both LeMond and his teammate Andy Hampsten signed on with the team, and up until now, that was the only way for an American rider to make a mark in this sport. And it's been tough on Hampsten, LeMond, and other Americans who have had to move their lives to Europe in order to keep up with the very best. But this year, that has changed. There is light at the end of the tunnel when looking toward the future of Americans racing in the Tour. The American 7-Eleven team has made its mark this year, if at times struggling in the effort to do so. They wear the uniforms of professional bike racers in cycling's greatest race. But 1 month ago, they were just a bunch of kids training in Boulder, Colorado.
The party was over last night, man. You got a beer left over? Yeah.
This is not your everyday Tour de France cycling team headquarters, but whatever works.
Hey, Bob, turn up the music, man.
The 7-Eleven America was a bold step for the boys from the States. And even before the tour began, riders like former CBS commentator Eric Heiden knew very well what was ahead.
Last year I got to work with you guys in following the tour, and I was scared after seeing the tour and knowing that we might ride it the following year.
It's intimidating, you know. I mean, you hear about how hard it is and all that stuff, but we'll find out. Yeah, sure, it's a little bit scary.
To tell you the truth, I am a little scared.
Playing in the Super Bowl, pitching in the World Series. Well, it's what they were training for while out here in Boulder this June. Eric Heiden, already an Olympic champion, now joined ranks for this new expedition. And Alex Steeda, the only Canadian on the team, what were in his dreams as he trained in Boulder? Did he know that 1 month later, here in France, he would be leading the world's elite out on a solo breakaway, and that his outrageous move would catch them all by surprise and make him the first North American to wear the yellow jersey? No, No, it was no dream. 7-Eleven was out to get noticed. But good grief, one of their men leading the Tour de France. It built a lot of confidence all around.
We're going to do the best job we can to hold that jersey as long as we can.
Just want to say hi to everyone in Vancouver, and hope they keep watching, because there's going to be more to come.
We're cavemen, what can I say? We're bad to the bone. At least the first day. We'll see the rest of the race how it goes.
If life seems almost livable in your first Tour de France, stick around. Things have a way of falling apart rather quickly. And the Americans' trouble began in the team time trial. Yellow jersey Alex Steeda. A few hours in the Golden Fleece feels good, but it's a fickle prize indeed. Steeda lost the jersey and was almost disqualified for falling too far behind. It wasn't that 7-Eleven was worse off than any other team. It's just that the first time can be the worst time. When the race hit the mountains, Olympic champion Alexei Greywall spent time at the front of the pack with the leaders, while his compatriots Chris Carmichael on the left and Doug Shapiro on the right suffered on the climbs with stomach viruses and eventually had to abandon the race. Even Greywall, who had stayed near the front, had enough of the race and those around trying to record it. Greywall was trying to finish each day's ordeal with a case of bronchitis, and it finally was just too painful. Chased and haunted by the ghoulish broom wagon that threatened to scoop him up, Alexei Greywall finally gave in and gave up on finishing the Tour de France.
I feel pretty confident about making it to the finish, and if I can do that, that'd be my biggest goal, making it to the finish and seeing the Champs-Élysées a couple times going up and down there.
Well, you know, it's always a matter of just 5 more kilometers, you know, or just 10 more kilometers, or just to the next feed zone. And it's always little things, little games you play, and then, it's only 50 kilometers to go. So yesterday, I definitely was cracking on the second hill. I mean, I was just starting to die. And all you do is you just hope you can hang on.
You swear to God you can't make it to the top, but somehow you keep struggling over, and it's just one of those things where you gotta survive, and the hills are really steep.
For Eric Heiden, the Tour continued in the Alps at the back of the pack, but only with the help of those who refused to let the mountain beat him. Heiden was faltering badly, and like a relay team, they passed him along, one to the other. The Olympic speed skating champion, who had gone far beyond the limits set for mere mortals, totally dominating a sport and winning 5 gold medals. The 28-year-old need not prove himself to anyone. But for Heiden, there was one last goal to accomplish before starting yet another life as a medical student. Heiden sought an honor reserved for the world's elites, finishing the Tour de France. In the Pyrenees, he had survived another impossible day in the mountains. Heiden, one step closer.
To finish the Tour de France is something that I'll try as hard as I can to do. And, you know, it's one of those things where years down the road, you know, you can sit down with your grandkids or your children and say, you know, I was in that race, you know, the race of races.
The race of races, the race of a lifetime. For Eric Heiden and his teammate Davis Finney, the race had only just begun. The climbs were getting steeper and the days longer. The crowds that had roared for the leaders now offered polite applause for the men in a daily routine that looked all too painful. On day 15, Davis Finney crashed, severely bruising his hip and fracturing his wrist. Now it was time to quit, certainly. Finney would not hear of it, and he got back on his bike. But the pain finally exceeded the will to win. It was over now. And so Davis Finney's number joined the long list of broken dreams in the Tour de France. Wasn't it only 1 month ago when Boulder's Davis Finney was on top of it all in his world back in Colorado?
All right, Boulder fans, come on, join us out here in the streets. Let's celebrate the way we do in Boulder, especially when Davis Finney wins. Come on out, ladies and gentlemen.
I really never appreciated it until I wrote it. And so, I mean, now here I am lamenting, you know, thinking back about all these memories, and I just wish I could think forward to tomorrow's race. That's really all I wish I want to do.
One day later in the Alps, there was another call for the ambulance. It was Eric. He had crashed during a descent and had struck his head. It was for all of us a frightening moment. Heiden was hallucinating, and he did not recognize his close friends. It was later discovered that Eric had suffered a mild concussion. There'd be a night in the hospital for observation, but he'd be all right. The race was over, though. It's not supposed to end like this. Not for Davis Finney, not for Eric Heiden. It's not supposed to slip away that quickly. Not when only minutes ago you were pitching in the World Series, playing in the Super Bowl.
Hello, Ed's book on advertising. Well, the message we would like you to remember is to be sure to enjoy Bartles and James on Ice this summer. You cannot find a lighter, more refreshing summertime beverage. As for the visual device, Ed says you...
Trial in the Tour de France. Bernardino has announced he will try to beat teammate Lamond here and now.
Because he's attacked me from the beginning of the Tour de France. He's never helped me once, and I don't feel confident at all with him. So.
Greg LeMond's friend and ally now exists for the American as the enemy. Hinault's hunched frame on the time trial platform. Is this truly LeMond's nemesis?
You know, you never know what can happen. I can crash flat. So I feel really strong. I don't think there should be any problem.
In his world of meditation and isolation, the Badger is perched to lay waste to LeMond and the Tour de France. There are but 2 men left to ride the time trial. As the yellow jersey, the American will ride last. Hinault precedes him on the course.
If Hinault has any hope of beating Lamond, he must do it here in his speciality. After all, Hinault has won 20 of these special time trials since he first rode the Tour in 1978. 3 minutes later, Greg LeMond enters the start house, and for the first time in his life, he's last to begin, because he leads the Tour de France. has the chance to give his answer. Can he beat Le Monde by enough time to bring victory in Paris, or will his tour end here? One way or another, the individual time trial will tell us the truth. Le Monde knows too, he sits on the brink of stardom or disaster. Hino wants so much to win, he pushes himself to gain precious time, and on a difficult narrow bend, he almost crashes. But in any case, the delay, if not the crowd, will cost him a couple of valuable seconds. Last year, Le Monde beat Hino by just 5 seconds in the Tour's final time trial. He knows he can do it, and above all, he wants to prove, especially to the French, he's a worthy wearer of the Golden Fleece. Hino fights like a wounded animal. His pride is hurt, and in his own garden, he wants desperately to show he's the best. Pedaling at 35 miles an hour, Le Monde seems to be having trouble getting his rhythm. He adjusts his shoe position. By using all of the road, Hino is as smooth as ever, spurred on by his threats to beat Le Monde by perhaps a minute.
Le Monde has crashed on a tight turn and is in a panic to get back on his bike. An aide from the team car runs to give him a legal push.
Did you hear about the crash? Yeah, did you hear anything else about it?
Crash.
Is there a new split?
What crash?
Yeah, 'cause that's why
Greg's wife and mother were watching live French TV, which at the time was not covering Greg. Word that someone had crashed came over a walkie-talkie.
What? Crash.
Le Monde was all right, but not everyone knew it.
Can't be, Greg. Just can't be. Is there a crash with Greg? No! No, Kent, no!
But he's all right, he's all right.
What happened? Oh, what happened? What do you mean he's all right? What?
Crash between kilometers 30 and 40. He's all right.
But is he still riding?
Le Monde had lost very few seconds in the crash, but the questions he could only answer. Was he injured? Had his paranoia finally gotten the better of him? Up ahead, Hino continued to pedal away, and at the halfway point, the two were roughly even. Le Monde has asked the team car for a wrench to adjust his brakes damaged in the fall. The brakes are now locking against his front tire. If he used a wrench himself, he would breach the rules, and the team car refuses. Le Monde is asked to pull over and change bikes, but he continues to pedal. Hino is closing in on the finish line, but first takes on a final climb. Le Monde finally gives in and agrees to a bike change, losing more time. Is this now that nightmare Le Monde had anticipated? Up ahead, Hino is in his final sprint to the finish, along the very road where exactly 1 year ago, he was in the yellow jersey and almost lost the Tour in a bone-crushing collision with the pavement. But today, there would be no mishap for the Badger. And at the line, he caught the rider who had started 3 minutes ahead of him. Hino had set the day's fastest time. This tough, handsome Breton with the nerves of steel had turned in the race of his life. And the ultimate challenge to the man in the yellow jersey. The world would wait for Greg Le Monde. Reports of the crash were already going out. Hino had beaten his nearest competition by over 2 minutes. The world would wait and wonder about the fate of the American in yellow. finished his ride against all odds. Hinault had beaten him, but by only 25 seconds. The American would still be in yellow. His wife, Kathy, managed to burst through the crowd to find him. It was an emotional moment played out in the middle of an overpowering crush of reporters that eventually became too much for Greg to handle.
Laissez-le respirer, appuie-toi là.
The standings after 21 days. Bernard Hinault, 2 minutes 18 seconds behind Le Mans, after one of the most emotional races in the history of the Tour de France bike race.
He's just killing himself to win this thing by himself with no help. And I don't know what to say. I just feel bad for him that he's all alone.
You would be hard-pressed to find a cyclist wearing the yellow jersey not wearing a smile this late in the Tour. Le Mans was an angry young man indeed.
Je pense que le Tour, ce soir est fini.
The Tour is over. We won't fight each other anymore. Hinault's statement at the post-race news conference conceding the Tour de France to the American.
It's been a very bittersweet victory. I wish I could be. I think when I get to Champs-Élysées and it's over, I'll be happy. But I mean, it's hard to be happy right now. And there's so much pressure, so much tension in the air. It's been difficult.
Paris. The grand prize awaits Greg LeMond. Paris, I'm John Tesh along the Champs-Élysées. The race finished here about 1 hour ago, and wouldn't you know it, Greg LeMond at the beginning of it had some problems. Here's a look at what happened. LeMond had crashed and asked his team vehicle for a bike change. The rest of the pack was wondering where was Greg LeMond. Well, LeMond was not hurt, and the yellow jersey got quickly back on his bike. It was Bernard Hinault, the man in the polka dot climber's jersey, the 5-time winner of the Tour de France, who was able to lead Greg back up to the front and along the Champs-Élysées. 158 miles, and it was Hinault just behind the Maillot Jaune Le Mans 6 times around the Champs-Élysées in Paris. With 210 cyclists before it was all over, 40% had to abandon, to drop out of this great race. But when it was all over, it was Greg LeMond who finished here along the Champs-Élysées in yellow. The first American to win the Tour de France bike race. Andy Hampsten finished 4th. The best American on that 7-Eleven team, Bob Roll, 63rd place. Well, Greg LeMond just left us here. He had to go to a team meeting with the mayor. Here's what he said when we talked to him. Greg, congratulations. There was a time when we talked a few days back when you didn't think you'd be able to make it down the Champs-Élysées. There was so much turmoil. Are you still angry?
No, I've gotten over it, but there was so much tension in the air between me and Hinault, and it was only normal that I had that much. I mean, there were several times he wasn't quite frank with me, and I wish he would have told me what his plans were. And had he told me out in the open that he wanted to win the Tour, I would have approached the race completely different, and I wouldn't have been so nervous.
It looked to me like the French have finally accepted you as a true champion. The last few days there, we weren't hearing Hinault anymore. We were hearing Le Mans.
Yeah, because I think in the time trial, I proved that I really should have won the time trial without my crash on my bike change. And the time trial is really what we call the race of the truth. I mean, there's no team tactics. There's nothing involved. It's just the strongest guy wins. And it came at the end of the Tour de France when that's the truest test of all, at the end of the Tour de France.
Well, I want one last question. Truly, how excited are you about winning?
It hasn't even sunk in. I mean, You know, it's like, I don't know, it's like combining World Series, Super Bowl, everything into one thing and winning it, and not even, I mean, there's so much going on right now, so much press, so many people that I have to get back into my homeroom with my wife and sit back and think about it before I even realize what I've done.
It was great to see her unparalleled support of you, too, throughout the tour.
Yeah, well, she's my biggest supporter.
Congratulations again.
All right,
and good luck.
thank you.
We'll see you here next year. Back here live in Paris, and again, my congratulations to Greg LeMond. It's time to draw to a close my 4th Tour de France here on CBS Sports. There are a lot of marvelous people who worked very hard to bring you these shows, and I think they did a marvelous job. I embark on a new adventure now, leaving CBS Sports. I leave you in their hands, very capable people. So long for now. I'm John Tesh.
CBS Sports Sunday has been a presentation of CBS Sports.